to dance, taking a chance.
Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to another episode of My Way, conversations with entrepreneurs doing business outside the box. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and super excited to be with you for another episode this evening. I'm thrilled about this episode for many reasons, but this one is personal to me. The first bit of writing that I did, working with a publisher, working with an editor, really putting myself out there as far as my story is concerned, was with our guest this evening. She is a best-selling publisher, sacred visibility catalyst, and the creatrix of numerous media and visibility brands, including the beloved Aspire magazine. Our guest this evening is Linda Joy, and I know you are going to leave here empowered and inspired, and I can't wait to introduce her to you tonight. Let's get her on the show. Welcome, Linda Joy. I'm so excited to have you here tonight.
Hey, I am so happy to be here with you, Jessica.
This is going to be fantastic because, like I said, this one's personal to me. I've had a lot of people on the show that I've never personally worked with before, and you were my story midwife.
It was such an honor to work with you on the Shine Project. Like you said, I'm a storytelling guide. I love supporting women in owning their truth, healing the past through authentic storytelling. So thank you for stepping into the circle and entrusting us with your sacred soul story. It's a deep dive, isn't it, my friend, when you
It is.
show up with vulnerability and authenticity, as all my authors do. So thank you for the honor.
Yeah, I have really you to thank for actually a little bit of the behind the scenes of the Breakthrough Show Network, because it was my working on that project on Shine. I said I was going to be Vanna White here this evening. I've got my copy here. But it was through working on that project that it really nailed in my passion for storytelling, and also the power and what I share on with my audience, that kind of a three-pronged concept of when you're writing your story, you're able to heal, and the people that are listening or reading your story are able to heal. And then the third part is that it brings us together. It was able to connect me on a new level with people through that. And so you didn't know the piece that you played in me creating this network even, but that's the truth behind the story.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. That means a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know Brittany's got her front row seat out there and ready to engage with the show tonight. So thanks so much, Brittany, for being here this evening. And anybody else that's joining us live tonight, I would love for you to use the comments, say hello, let us know where you're joining from, and if you have any questions for Linda along the way. So Linda, you're very multi-passionate, and I think that's why I initially was attracted to the projects that you have out there, because I am very much the same. How do you sort of like have you always been that multi-passionate, and do you find yourself ever having to rein it in at all?
Let me go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've always been creative,
Hmm.
even as a child. But I was one of those, and as I grew, I was one of those teens and young adults that my mother would always say, "Are you ever going to finish anything?" Right? And you know what happens sometimes with multi-creatives. And as I did my inner work, especially the last 30 years, I'm 60, I discovered that, yes, that's who I am, but I had to do the inner work so I could stay out of overwhelm
Hmm.
and really honor that if I'm here to birth something, which I am, which you are, which we all are, then I want to do it with full intent, full attention, and give it the sacred space that it needs. So, though many see that I have 5, 6 media brands, I've been around for a long time, the magazine's 17 years old, I truly only have 2 missions.
Hmm.
The first mission is every single one of my brands spreads a message of love, inspiration, and self empowerment for women on the path to self discovery. The books I publish, the magazine, the radio show, and the summits that I produce, they're all to be of service to women so they know that no matter what they're going through, to just believe in possibility. And then the second aspect, even though you see a lot of brands, is I am so passionate about supporting heart-centered women entrepreneurs who have a message to share, but whose struggle would be invisible, right? So they don't have the mindset blocks around being visible. And we dealt with that with the authors as you were writing your stories.
Yeah.
But they also don't have the platform to be visible, right? Because they're like, I got my website up, I got my lead magnet, now what?
Right.
So yes, I'm multi-passionate, but I have one mission. That's why, I mean, I am so organized now that I have 4-day work weeks. I have a small team that have been with me for a long time. I take most summers off, and in December, there was a time I couldn't do that. I was doing 15 hours a day, overwhelmed, creating, but from a place of stress, not joy. And I mean, come on, my name is Joy.
Yeah.
How to come back into alignment so that I could stay in my truth and serve and create from that place of service, but not serving at the cost to myself. Does that make sense?
So important, because I think so many women out there in particular are so used to putting themselves on the back burner in every aspect of their lives. So then when they go into creating a business, guess what they do? They do the same thing. They put themselves on the back burner again. It like what part of your story, I mean, obviously woman, you've been through those same things yourself, but what part of your story made you really lean in and go, this isn't just for me, I really want to work with all women?
So do you, I think it was really back. I started the magazine. Well, I look back, let me say this, Jessica. I look back at my journey as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 32 years. I got off welfare, started my first business with $2,400 a retail store, and started way back then supporting women with their marketing. I didn't want to, but they're all coming to me like, how are you growing your retail business so fast? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't teach you marketing. I'm a high school dropout. So I began serving women then. Then I got involved, because of my background as a welfare mom, with women's shelters. So I've always loved supporting women for the last 30 years in believing in themselves, right? And yes, some of them are entrepreneurs. But I think a big catalyst for me was I had started Aspire magazine as this is when like the download came that I'm supposed to only work with women.
Yeah.
So I started the magazine, God, 17 years ago. And it was originally Aspire magazine for body, mind, spirit. I had male writers, female writers, male and female advertisers. And I was producing live women's events called Love, Light, and Laughter. We're going back 2009 through 2011. 65 speakers, 65 vendors, keynote, 2.5 days. And then at that very first event, I remember thinking, well, this is my first event. I'm going to make a special edition issue, right?
Yeah.
And I decided it would be all for women, all women contributors. It was like spirit was leading me. That magazine was almost 100 pages. And we were print back then, 100 pages. Even though I was creating this huge event, multi-day event, that magazine flowed with such ease and grace. I knew from that moment, I am here to serve the women. I can't serve everyone. We all have our purpose. That weekend of that event, I realized that my whole past brought me to that day, and that's the work I was meant to do. And I announced it, and all the men were very pouty. Sorry, guys. And I'm still in touch with many, because if I announce an event there, they want to be vendors. But it was almost like it was just an internal knowing that is who I'm meant to serve, and I never went back.
Yeah.
I never went back. It felt so aligned for me and really made sense of my entire life, right? Because you can have more empathy and compassion and love and understanding when you've experienced some of the things I've experienced. So every woman that comes in front of me, especially the authors, they've published 260 women to date, through Inspire Living Publishing. And to be able to hold space for women's stories, I think my gift for that ability to do so comes from my own journey. I can see myself in their stories, right?
Yeah.
So that was the big catalyst when I knew I was meant to work with women. There's been others too, but like that validated, but that was the big one for me. That was a big decision in my business. That was 3 years old at the time. Aspire was 3. To make that decision then was a little scary because I was shifting what I've done, but look what unfolded since then because I honored my truth.
Absolutely. First of all, Brittany said she doesn't believe you're 60. She in disbelief over here.
My baby's going to be 39. So.
But she said she loves that you work with women. It's such an empowerment and something that all women need. We need that support. And one of the things I was going to ask you, because you mentioned the guys got pouty when you made the announcement, right? I know that many men out there now are on a personal development journey themselves, and a lot of them are becoming really committed to leaning into those more, the feminine. We all have the masculine and the feminine within us, right? They're leaning into that. How can I flow more? How can I lean more into the feminine? Would you ever consider working with men again? Or are we like, no, this is my passion and I'm good?
I love that men are getting on that journey. I'm blessed to know so many of them, but no, this is my path, right? Every guest on my radio shows is I want to give women a platform. So many years ago when I was blessed. I mean, Aspire grew, but we had a lot of growing pains. I never published a mag before.
What, it wasn't just easy? It didn't just happen? Like,
are you kidding me, woman? And what's funny, I tell my clients, and when I talk to my peers in Mastermind, and I've been in the personal spiritual development realm for 17 years, not just personally, but I'm talking about I've been able to partner with people like Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson. We have a waiting list to get in our magazine. And I was one of the few women invited God back. I think it was got to be 16 years ago when Louise Hay had a private book signing in New York. And I was one of the 60 women invited. And I remember that moment because she's the one that changed my life. It was like she was my virtual mentor for years. So to be invited was a full circle moment. Wow. It was her book when I first got off welfare that set me on the path of personal and spiritual development. So I stay aligned for what I'm doing, but I do believe this. As I support women And when I say I mean my brands, which means everybody that contributes, like you, to the books, magazine. I know that they're creating a ripple effect in their families with their husbands, their children, grandchildren, and then their community. So I feel that even though I am not working with them personally, we're shifting them too.
Yeah.
We're shifting them. And for all the men, I love you. I just know what I'm here for. And I will refer you to some amazing women, but I always say that, I love you guys. But I know, and you want to know when I made that decision internally, so many pieces came together in my business, even though it wasn't a business decision, because it took years for me to come to that realization. When you honor what you are here for and do not try to fit in a box, which is what this show is about, everything unfolds. Everything unfolds. All these other brands wouldn't be here if I didn't honor myself, if I didn't honor what my soul's purpose is.
Yeah.
And, I know we're going to be talking about how I walked away from the masculine model, but there was a time I can remember what it felt like to do business in a box that was not meant for me, but I didn't understand that. And maybe you felt that way too, right? I didn't understand why, when I was growing Aspire back then, when we were still in print, that I felt that as those years went on, those first 3 years, when I was really trying to grow the magazine and learn about who I was as a spiritual leader, I realized as time went on, I was becoming more and more disconnected from my authentic voice. I felt like marketing was the antithesis of who I was, but I was being told this is how it must be done.
Right.
And that led to a Dark Night of the Soul in 2009. And I now look and go, thank you for that Dark Night of the Soul. Because it led me to this alignment within and the alignment with all of my brands. One of the greatest compliments I ever received is, like I said, I've been blessed to be friends with some of the biggest names in personal spiritual development. And one of them was Colette Baron-Reed. And she said, Lynn, I have followed you. In fact, Colette was on stage at an event I produced before Hay House ever found her, way back then. Her, Maureen Hancock, and John Holland, before they were ever picked up. And she said, for all these years, I have followed you, and one thing has never changed. And I said, what? And she said, you have shown up authentically in all the years that I have followed you. And that is what I want to say to every entrepreneur out there, every woman out there. Release the shoulds and the have-tos and allow your sacred self to show up. Allow your quirks and idiosyncrasies and brilliance to show up, because that's what they are searching for. That's what your clients want. They want your unique essence.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into that part of your story where you mentioned walking away from the masculine model of doing business. And look, I love the men just like you do. I'm surrounded by some really fantastic entrepreneurs out there. But I feel like I have been in that space personally where I have felt those really heavy shoulds and have tos. And that's kind of how this show in particular was born, because I was tired of the shoulds and have tos. And I still hear that often. I still hear it often. And I have felt so not aligned with how people, and I don't even like saying just masculine, because there are so many women who are still leaned into that as well.
Well, I want to clarify that too. This confuses a lot of people. So when we say masculine marketing model, feminine marketing model, has nothing to do with men.
Right.
Okay. It's an energy. So think of it this way. And I can only share from my experience, but after working with over 600 women entrepreneurs over the last 17 years, I hear it, but they use their own words. So my disconnection was not from it was trying to market in a way that didn't feel integritous. Okay, so think of it this way. And so masculine, let's talk about the masculine energy so you know what I mean about masculine marketing model. So the masculine energy of a marketing model is what's in it for me? What can I get? It's take, because the masculine energy is like, it's the conqueror, right? It is let's push, let's chase, let's strive, let's manipulate. And again, this has nothing to do with men. This is energy. And I was doing that. I was like, okay, and I got to work 16-hour days and I got to push and strive. And the way that you market is a little bit in the masculine is a little bit manipulative, fear-based tactics, fear-based messaging, fear-based everything to try to shame someone to a decision. So at that time, I couldn't have identified what my disconnect was. I have the language now, Jessica, but my dark night of the soul was 2009 Labor Day weekend. Again, I was print at the time, regional throughout New England, and I brought the whole list of advertisers. And I was about to call them and say there will not be an October, November issue. I was spiritually, financially, and emotionally exhausted. And I didn't know there was another way. And so in my mind, I had blinders on like a horse. And I thought, that's it. I am burnt out. And I'm sure many entrepreneurs have felt this burnt out. And I said, I'm calling them. I am done. And yes, that day, I mean, I was sobbing. My t-shirt was soaked. And I remember having a temper tantrum with the divine. Like, you told me to start this magazine. I listened and it's so hard and it doesn't feel right. A complete temper tantrum. And I receive intuitively, and I heard, what would it look like for you to keep Aspire? Now, I don't know about any of you, but sometimes when we are so focused on a problem, we shut out possibility. And by hearing that question, possibility, hope filled me. Like something just shifted. And Jessica, I sat there 14 hours, never got up to go party, and downloaded what is now called the 5 Feminine Success Principles. And they weren't meant to ever be shared in that moment in time. I never knew they would become the foundational aspects of everything that I do, as well as the foundational aspects of what was birthed that day, which is the feminine collaborative marketing model, which is both of them are our trademarks. And to give you the foundational piece is the 5 feminine success principles that came through me that day was, I will only keep Aspire and produce events if these 5 things can be met with every decision. 1, authenticity means, can I show up as my authentic self? 1, intention. Does it align with the intention I have for my business, my desire to serve in my life? Relationships. I don't want numbers following me. I want true, authentic relationships. Collaboration. I was so done with the masculine model of compete and, oh, I can't tell her I do this because she might take my clients, right? That's the masculine energy, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female. So collaboration was so important to me. And the other one was service. So my business model and my mantra tagline for many years has been service before sales. I'll refer you out before I sign you if I don't think I am the next right step for you. And many of my clients, I didn't take them the first time until they did some work on their brand, their message, or maybe themselves. And they all circled back because of the integrity I had. Sometimes it took 6 years, sometimes 1 year. And so it was authenticity, intention, service, collaboration, and relationships. Well, so those were never meant for business. Those were, I will keep Aspire if I can make every decision from that set of spiritual guideposts, right? And later on, a few years later, as everyone started asking me, like, how the hell are you doing this? And I'm like, I have guideposts in that I follow to honor myself, because I know when I stay in integrity within myself, my own being, that what I call in is going to unfold. Second decision that day, which still get emotional talking about, was I said, I am done. I will not market this way anymore. I didn't even know what that meant. Didn't have an opt-in box, didn't have a website. I was print, right? And I made a decision that day. I was going digital because I also heard you are meant to serve a global audience of women. And I was stuck in print. You can only get so big when you're paying
Right.
$15,000 every 8 weeks to give away a free magazine.
Yeah.
And so that moment, I kind of started mapping out what it would feel like to market with these spiritual principles. Now, again, it wasn't called the feminine collaborative marketing model then. It was just a vision in my mind.
Right.
So I did call all those advertisers. I did tell them I wasn't printing another mag, but I was going digital. Many of them couldn't transfer their advertising over to digital because they were brick and mortar businesses, and a global audience wouldn't help them.
Yeah.
Do you know, Jessica, with no tech experience, that because I aligned, everything unfolded in less than, let's see, that was Labor Day weekend. November, our first digital issue went out with Marielle Hemingway on the cover. Within 90 days, we had 10,000 subscribers to Aspire magazine. Hay House called me and said, "Where the hell did you just come from?" So, and we've been partnering for years, as well as like New World Library, Llewellyn. I work with a lot of the big publishing companies who want their authors, and publicists who want their authors in front of our audience. And then I continued to hone the model, right, and see what worked. But that was all because Team Inspiration, which is one of my trademarks for my community, Team Inspiration, they all came forward to say, I'm going to share Aspire with my audience. And they got to offer a gift to the subscribers. It's the same work I'm doing how many years later? That's when it was born. And I've spent the last, more than a decade honing it, creating in the sacred containers for every one of my brands. So it is this feminine collaborative circle that women step into. So from an energy point of view, I want you to think of it this way. Every magazine, every book, and you get to experience it too.
Yeah.
You witnessed it. Every magazine, every book, every radio episode, whatever it is I'm birthing to the world. I first create an energetic, beautiful circle. That's what I hold in my energy field. And as every woman steps into a collaborative project, I envision and require that they are energetically holding, think of a woman holding hands in a circle. That's the project. Everyone is holding hands to hold the sacredness of the circle, right? The project. In the masculine, some women will say, oh, yes, I want to come into that because they see the benefits. And then they don't do their part of the collaboration. So think of an energy leak, what happens when a woman steps away from the circle and releases someone here. It's an energy leak. So the feminine collaborative model is really all about showing up in your full essence, showing up with integrity, showing up in the spirit of collaboration, knowing there really is no competition, showing up and honoring all of your commitments. That's the feminine. The feminine is standing strong in your message and knowing that if you say yes to a project, like me saying yes to this, that you show up fully in all ways.
Absolutely.
The masculine energy, and I'm going to give you a perfect example. With love, I share this. I did my first summit, probably 2010, a producer on the West Coast, back before summits even existed, wanted to produce my summit. So I got to pick all my speakers. It was all my branding, etc. And I reached out to some of the biggest names and got all yeses. One I really, really wanted, and it doesn't matter who it is. And I got a message from a team, of course, we'd love to be in it, but we can't send the solo email or do any marketing. Now, imagine the circle I just described. This is less than a year after my Dark Night of the Soul, where I created this and chose to stay in intention. And what happened, Jessica? Believe me, the little voice inside of me is, just say yes, because I love her. She's been a virtual mentor for years. But my heart, my soul, my alignment said, you do this. Then that's saying to the other 23 women energetically, that they're less than that person. So for me, it was integritous. And all I did within 10 minutes, I emailed her back and I said, as much as I would have loved to have you as the event, I will keep you in mind for next time. I honor the feminine collaborative model, and it would be out of integrity for me to have 23 women marketing you and you don't market them. It just doesn't feel in alignment. Hopefully our schedules align in this in the future. And within 15 minutes, she goes, Lynn, we just cleared the schedule. We're in. She has since gone on to be in many of my events, participate in my books, and that cemented our relationship because it's based on integrity. The flip side of the feminine model that I always love to say is this. We think we do things in a vacuum. So when someone doesn't show up in a partnership, like I'm talking about a collaboration, like the Inspire Living giveaway, or even the book project, when someone doesn't show up, they're not hurting Linda Joy. They're not hurting my brand. They're hurting themselves. And what they don't understand is all those other partners, many of us have lists that, mingle. All their partners are going, well, I see Mary Smith is in the event too, and she hasn't posted, she hasn't sent out emails. What do you think happens? No invitations to Mary Smith to partner, to be on podcasts. They're like, oh, she's only in it for her. Right. So I always say to those who participate, show up in integrity for yourself. And of course, do we invite them back? If we ever notice they do that, then they're not invited back.
Yeah.
But more than that, it hurts their brand because women and others can see that they don't show up in integrity with their agreements. So why would someone want to do business with you? Why would someone want to have you on their podcast or partnership? So I want to say in the feminine, it's about showing up in the full essence of who you are, doing things with love, service, and integrity, knowing that the divine or your source, whatever you may call it, is going to bring you exactly what you need when you show up in that way. I know that's been my truth.
Yeah. Linda, I had never heard that story about the summit you did before. And it cements home so many things for me in this moment. I can't even tell you. I have so many juicy questions for you. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back after this. More with Linda Joy, Sacred Visibility Catalyst. We'll be right back after this.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to My Way, conversations with entrepreneurs doing business outside the box. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I'm joined this evening by the fabulous Linda Joy, Sacred Visibility Catalyst. She does Aspire Magazine. She does Inspired Living Publishing. She has the 5 Feminine Success Principles. There's so many things that we've talked about and touched on this evening. I love the story that you told before break about the summit that you did, and because I think you're so right. And this plays into on another show that I do called Beyond 2D with my fabulous co-host, Ferran Dozier. We are getting into starting this month. Integrity is our topic for like the next 4 episodes. And so this topic of integrity is right on time for us as well. And I've had those moments in my business where I've had to say, this doesn't align with what I'm trying to do. But I know, as you shared, you were a welfare mom, you had other things going on that were a challenging time in your life. And I think sometimes when we get into that space of we have to feed our babies, we have bills we have to pay, we have things that we have to do, we get in that space of desperation, and it can be challenging for us to not be in that masculine model of push, 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 sell, 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 because we're in that desperation space. When we're in a challenging time, Linda, how do we stay out of that space of desperation and the push, push, push? Like, what are some of the things that you lean on?
Well, we're going to talk about love and fear here because spiritual principles are spiritual principles, right? So you're talking to someone. I was a welfare mom 32 years ago. So Nikki's now 39. So it's been a long time. But you're talking to someone that for the first 30 years of her life was severe anxiety and depression, right? Like always thinking I had to push, strive, and chase to... I see now, like in the first years of that other business, way back in the 90s, I might have won numerous business awards for that business. But I see now that all the chasing, pushing, striving, working 14-hour days, it was all based on an inner wound I didn't even know I had of self-worth. Well, if I can just do this. And so I always attracted abundance, but I never could keep it. Even during then, like my business reached 6 figures quickly in that first business. And I still didn't feel like I had enough. I was still chasing the awards, donating services to different organizations. What I had to shift, I wish I could say I learned easily. I didn't. I think all of us who are in the masculine energy, again, this has nothing to do with men, the masculine energy of feeling like, I just got to get the to-do list done. Like they don't know how to relax. I've been there. Don't know how to bring joy in their life. They are always doing something to move their business forward. It's really a fear-based energy. Think about that. Because if you trusted in your divine source, whatever the name may be, you would be able to hand those things off and know that you were divinely supported. Well, I didn't feel that way back in that other business. So at 40 years old, so you're going back 20 years before Aspire, I won numerous awards. And a magazine, a regional magazine, said they wanted to shadow me for a day. This was one of my wake-up calls. I've had a few 2x4s. And I remember her shadowing me. She asked me some questions. They took some photos. And that was it. I forgot all about it. Till one day I pull up at my store and I'm like, what the hell are all these people doing in front of my store before it even opens? And I got there, Jessica, and big spread in the magazine, Superwoman's cape must be behind the door. And it was a whole article about everything I was doing in the community, how I transformed my life, my mindset, etc. And I remember everybody hugging me and congratulating me. And I'm smiling, as we all do, right, on the outside. But inside, I was like, I've got to get to my office. I have to get to my office. And I was just backing up. And I got in the office, and the sobs came from deep within me. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'll never be able to take off this persona, this cape, because now it's public, right? And I knew it was killing me. On a soul level, I knew that this chasing self-worth, chasing finances, chasing abundance, chasing awards was slowly killing me. It wasn't the truth of who I am. I wish I could tell you and your listeners that I listened that day. I didn't. I kept pushing, striving, chasing, and 6 months later I had a stroke at 40 years old.
Wow.
And that began my journey inward to say, why am I pushing like this? And the other big epiphany came is when I was bedridden for the 6 weeks that followed. I was like, oh, my business is going to fall apart, because we have this story that we believe. And guess what? The amazing people that I had there, the business continued to flow with ease and grace. That was a big wake-up call going, Linda, are you the owner of your business or the operator? So I began healing the stories. We go back to storytelling, that I had been telling myself that success had to be hard, because that's what we're taught. You got to work hard. No, you don't.
Yeah.
I am as dedicated as anyone. Ask any of my clients, partners, peers, they know. But my intention with every entrepreneur that I work with is, if it doesn't feel good, let it go. I've let go of brands that made a substantial income because they no longer brought me joy. Now, I believe if I kept on doing them, this is my personal belief system. Yes, the abundance was wonderful. Yes, my family needed it, especially at that time. But I knew if I kept doing that one brand and would see it in my schedule and feel that glitch in my matrix of, oh my God, knowing that my soul was saying, Linda, you've outgrown that. Trust me. Like the divine was saying, trust me, Linda. So I let go with love. I just truly believed that the abundance would come from another place. And 9 months later, the abundance was replaced in a different aspect of my business that didn't exist because I had been so exhausted chasing, striving, and not seeing. So I like to take time, and this goes back to the beginning of the question. I take time every Sunday. I look ahead at my week. And now my weeks are all consciously created. I love my schedule, right? They have been for about a decade. But I look at my week and say, is there any place that I need more spaciousness? So I teach my clients this. Do you have spaciousness between clients? In your case, do you have spaciousness between shows?
Yep.
Or were you always in this, oh my God, overwhelmed, got to get this done energy, which just vibrates out to the world?
Yeah.
Kind of repels a lot of people, the ones that you really want to work with, and attracts a bunch of people who are overwhelmed, disconnected. You attract what your energy is, maybe not who you are, but what your energy is. And so for me, I had to keep learning over and over again to trust my own intuition, my own truth, and know that I would rather be successful being the truth of who I am than being successful hiding behind a mask and trying to be who I am not. And that's one of the spiritual awakenings that I had is, I'm going to show up as my authentic self. Those that are meant to be served by my brands, my message, my personal services, are going to come. Right. And I'll give you another example, and maybe this will help you because you're visual like me. Because we're visual creatives here.
Do we need to get markers out? Do we need a whiteboard?
Oh, believe me, I love my markers, and I'm an office supply store geek. Like Dana will go, oh my God, you're going to be in there forever. Every project, I like a book. We just filled the Life Shifts book. It's coming out in November. I draw a circle. This is my intention for everything. I draw a circle. I fill it with empty hearts, and I attract the divinely aligned authors into the Life Shifts project with ease and grace. When I show up to a call for an author application, there's no sales. Everyone that knows me, you experience it. There is no sales. You are invited if it aligns for both of us. Not everyone's invited. And I hold space for them to decide if it aligns with them. So when I make that circle for every project that I do, that container, I release the need to sell, because the need is not there to sell. Right. The need is, Linda, be of service, share your project, share your whatever it may be with the women who are attracted to it, and they'll make their own aligned decisions or not. And so it comes back to those 5 principles, right? Be of service, and the sales come to you. Try to sell, which is masculine. Try to sell and go into that energy. It actually does the opposite. So for me, it's really staying aligned with trusting yourself, staying out of fear, and you'll know if you're in fear, even though you might not identify as that, is if you're always pushing, striving, chasing, and your to-do list is never ending, and you always feel like you can't take time to be you, to be a mother, to be a woman, to be a partner, to be just to have spaciousness for fun.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've lived both sides. Right. So I was in the masculine energy way back then. And I want to be really transparent. I got on the spiritual path and was like, ooh, manifesting abundance, all this. And I went so far into the feminine, which is, I'm woo in strategy though. So I went so far into the feminine that what happened was it would be like, oh, it's just going to come to me. And finally, I came into balance and said, you can't believe in the divine and law of attraction, etc., if you don't have that foundational piece. We need the masculine. We need the feminine. We need them to work together.
Absolutely.
So I have a strong foundation into all my businesses. That's the masculine. I have a very strategic mind. Excuse me. I have a very strategic mind, but I have to receive the vision first. That's the feminine. And then I trust what I receive. And then I say, let's put a foundation, which is the masculine processes, systems, etc. And I believe because of that foundation, everything is just birth, release, and grace. You have to have both.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's Brittany's laughing. I feel called out, and we all feel called out right now because I think so many of us can relate to that. I know that was a situation for me as well. I get into the spiritual development world and I'm like, oh, crystals. I'm like so far over to that side that I forgot about the foundation piece. Right. And so even as I was creating my shows, I just wrote a post about this recently where I was talking about how in the beginning, I literally was just like, and I'm still sort of in this place where if I have an idea for a show or something that I'm doing with the network, if it feels fun and it starts to light me, I get that yummy feeling inside. I'm like, let's go play in this for a little bit and see. But then I know I always have to come back to, okay, is this going to be is this resting on a strong foundation here? Like, are we going, do we have good bones in this?
Yeah, because a lot of times creatives, and I attract a lot of creatives. I attract, I'd say 90% of my clients are creatives, intuitives, and empaths, or highly sensitive women, very intelligent. Yeah. And because of that, there's a lot of overwhelm, resentment. I don't want to say them, but a lot of times those personalities, the way we're all divinely wired, unless you're in balance, we can always feel overwhelmed because we don't know our own boundaries. We don't know our own energetic boundaries. And so how I guide them is, listen, you can't be everything to everyone because it's going to cost you yourself. That's one. And from a business point of view, it's have a focus and a lane and don't go wide, go deep. So when you go wide, lots of balls drop. That hurts your reputation more than anything else. Balls starting to drop because they're trying to spread themselves so thin. And then from an energetic perspective, and I have been there way back when Aspire was growing, is we become resentful of our business. Okay, well, I'm going to say this, Jess, in case she's got some head shaking there, and a few others may have it. So here's what I want to say to that. When we resent our business, like if a client says to me, she looks at her phone for the week, her schedule, and I call it a glitch in the matrix. It's like when you go, oh my God, I can't believe I have that. I can already tell what's going to happen. Their business is going to start sabotaging. The abundance is going to dry up. There is no other way that it can be because your business has its own energy, right? It's an energetic being. Think of it as a plant. If you don't love and nurture it and water it and speak lovingly to it, what's going to happen? It's going to wither, right? Because it has its own energy. So when resentment and overwhelm starts coming into an entrepreneur's life, I can already see the path of where it's going to go. One is their reputation is going to get damaged because they can't meet all the expectations and things they say they're going to do. It's humanly impossible because they keep putting more and more on their plate.
Right.
So when resentment comes, I say, it's time to step back and say, where am I not loving my business? What parts can I release so that I can find love for my business again? Because I got to say something, and this is for all entrepreneurs. It's not your business's fault that you're feeling overwhelmed and resentful. It's your own fault. And a lot of us don't want to hear that. I know I didn't. You're the one making all the decisions, putting all this stuff on your plate.
Yep.
And that's what I used to do. And now, now in the energetic container that I've created for myself and my business, I am running a giveaway, which we'll be talking about, for 50 to 75 partners. I have 25 women in the book that I'm nurturing. I have all my private clients. I'm launching a summit in July with 25 interviews. And I still take Fridays off. I'm done by 3 every day. Take the summer off and take the afternoon off. And I have another book coming out in November. It's all about energetic containers.
Absolutely.
Giving the same energy to your business that you would want yourself. Right? And that's all part of the feminine collaborative model and the 5 success principles. It's an energy.
Yeah.
And I have seen too many women walk away from their businesses. They're not even businesses, their missions, what they are here for, because they couldn't solve the overwhelm and resentment. Do the inner work to say, why am I always thinking I have to launch 1,000 different things? Why can't I narrow it down so you can still have joy, happiness, and abundance without being overwhelmed, scattered, angry, resentful? Because guess what? And this is for all entrepreneurs. And again, I speak from my own experience.
Yeah.
That's the energy that goes back to your family.
Right.
They don't ask for that. They don't ask for it. And I hear, so many entrepreneurs go, my husband, my kids say I'm always working. I don't have time for them. Or when I am, I'm multitasking and all this, and I'm not present for them. And I'm like, is that the kind of spiritual entrepreneur we are meant to be? No. And I was that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all have to go through our learning curves. But now I'm on a mission to say it doesn't have to be that way. Get out of the damn box. Right? Step into the circle. Step into the box is very masculine. A circle.
Get out of it. Or at least turn it on its side like we've done here. I was nodding like crazy here because a lot of my listeners know end of last year, I completely had to do that. I just stepped back because I felt that resentment. I started to feel a lot of different things. And I think I'm so grateful because we had moved back here to Connecticut where I grew up. And just sometimes it takes just that change of scenery to wake you up and be like, oh, this is what I've done to myself. Brittany was called out too. She was like, I am the one. I put it all on me. I am the reason I am overwhelmed. I'm glad we can have this breakthrough moment here tonight.
And you know what? When you acknowledge that, Brittany, Jessica, be loving and gentle with yourself. Yeah. It's really a sacred gift because until you were aware that you were the cause of something, nothing changes. Absolutely. But now here's the challenge. Anytime you're aware of a belief, habit, or pattern, and you don't change it, then you are choosing it. Right. And I remember the first time I had that epiphany 30 years ago when I got on this path, I'm like, oh shit. Right? Because then we're not the victim. Right. We're the creator of our own misery, overwhelm, etc. Yeah. And I didn't want to hear that back then. I did not want to hear it. I was like, no, you don't understand. This shit got to get done. Who's going to do it? And I'm like, well, Linda, if you weren't such a control freak, I'm a recovering control.
But it's so empowering. It's so empowering. Once if we can get past that, oh shit, like it's me that's doing it, right? Like it's so empowering because then we go, oh, if I have the control to do that, I have the control to change it too. I can.
It's very empowering. It's how I changed my whole life through the power of choice, right? And there was something else I was just going to say to you because it's so critical that entrepreneurs, especially those in the personal and spiritual development fields, we judge ourselves, right? And we can't. We have to go, okay, like Brittany just said, I'm the one that puts it all on me. I'm the reason why I'm overwhelmed. What a beautiful gift you just gave yourself. Yeah. Now that you see the gift, you have to decide what you're going to do with it, right? And that's how I look at everything. I don't go, oh, Linda, I can't believe you slipped backwards again. I don't do that. I go, thank you for the gift of awareness. The choice is now mine.
Yeah.
Like that is like liberating. I don't have to feel like, oh my God, I can't get out of this situation that I put myself in.
Mm,
So I'm glad
absolutely.
that served, and thank you, Brittany,
Yeah.
for sharing, and you too, Jessica.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to take a moment and tell us about the Inspired Living giveaway, Linda.
Well, I'll share two things about it. Inspired Living Giveaway, this is now our 12th season. And as I shared with the Feminine Collaborative Model, for over 9 years, I've brought together usually 50 minimum, 50 women entrepreneurs from personal spiritual development, mindset and success, service providers, authors, creatives. We come together in a sacred container, and everyone shares their lead magnet or free opt-in gift. And there are promotional requirements, but think of it this way. Let's say you have 500 on your email list. Another woman has 5,000. Another woman has 50. Alone, that's all you can reach, right?
Mm.
But when we come together in the Inspired Living giveaway, um, everybody's gifts gets in front of everyone else's audience in this beautiful sacred container. So we just opened the doors, and you can go to ILG. Those are the initials for Inspired Living Giveaway, ilgpartners.com. Right now, you can join us as a gift giving partner. You have to have a lead magnet, a website, all the basics so that we can drive traffic to you. And it's an early bird discount. Just for the first 2 weeks, it's $97 to join us. You will be partnering with over 50 women entrepreneurs. Again, ilgpartners.com. All the details are there. And I invite you, scroll down the page. You will see testimonial after testimonial. We have brought over 600 entrepreneurs through this project over the last 9 years. Many of them come back time and time and time again because of the results they get. So if you want to attract an aligned audience of women truly interested in your products and services, come join us and get a feel for what the Feminine Collaborative Model looks like from behind the scenes, what it feels like to be in this beautiful sacred community of women who all embrace the model too. It's so empowering.
Love it. I
It's
love it.
yeah, it's such a gift to circle up with them.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. You guys definitely check out that link, ilgpartners.com. I put it in the show notes. I put it down in the comments for you
Thank
guys.
you.
I know a lot of my replay queens that watch the shows in the middle of the night. You're going to see this and you're going to love it. And make sure you click on that. And will you let me know, Linda, when it's open for people to jump in to get their gifts and everything so that I can be sure to share that out for you?
Yes, that's going to be June 16th through 30th is when it goes live to registrants to be able to claim all the gifts.
Awesome. Awesome. Very exciting. Well, I would love for you to leave us with any final thoughts you might have this evening. And also, in addition to ILG Partners, where else can people find you, Linda, if they want to connect with you?
I'm going to give 2 links. If they want to learn more about me and my personal services, whether that's spiritual coaching or magnetic messaging and intentional business, you can go to linda-joy.com. And for all who are listening, if you're a woman on the path of self-discovery, I invite you to subscribe to Aspire. It's still free. It's a gorgeous digital magazine, 6 issues a year, and it comes with dozens of transformational gifts from our friends and partners. You can do that at subscribe-to-aspire.com.
I love it. I love it. Linda, I'm so glad you were finally able to have you on one of my shows. It's been a long time coming. And again, I cannot thank you for being a part of my journey and helping me to not only share my story, but always being your little voice sometimes in the back of my head as I'm creating and as I'm consciously saying yes and no to different projects and different things that I'm working on. I just appreciate you taking up that little space in the back of my mind and for being here with us tonight.
Thank you for holding space for me and for all you guests. So thank you, my friend.
Absolutely.
Bye, Brittany.
Thank you all. I saw lots of people popping in and out. I know that sometimes there's challenges with finding the chat space, but I appreciate you all for being here tonight. And let us know if you have any questions. You can always email Jessica@thebreakthroughshow.com, and I'm happy to pass anything along to Linda as well. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I will see you guys in 2 weeks for another episode of My Way. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you to do business outside the box. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.